Hello everyone and welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to talk about heads-up digitizing, the process by which we can create new feature data from an existing data set like a raster data set or a base map. In the last lesson, I said we were going to do it by creating the continents. I changed my mind and we're going to do it by creating a couple countries. In the process of this, I'll show you how to create new polygon objects, edit their attributes, and set their topology, which is a new concept we'll talk about, and then edit it using the topology itself. So to start with, since I changed my mind and we have that continents layer, let's rename it by clicking on it and hitting F2 and calling it countries. So now we have a countries layer. And now I'm going to drag it into my map document. And once again, I don't see anything because my countries layer is empty, as we can see. Now I'll collapse the catalog window here. And let's start an editing session. And it's giving me this warning, and you'll see this a lot if you add the base map first to your map document, and it's saying that the spatial reference doesn't match the data frame of the countries layer. I could continue and edit from here, but I shouldn't. So I'm going to stop editing, and I'm going to switch the data frame's projection, its coordinate system, from the coordinate system of the base map, which is what it is right now, the Web Mercator projection, and I'm going to switch it to what we put the new data in last time, the projection, the coordinate system WGS 1984. So I'll click on that, I'll click OK, and my map's going to change a bit because it's going to reproject those base map tiles. And now I can start an editing session, and I'll be editing in the coordinate system of the countries layer here. So let's start by digitizing our first country here. So I'm going to go to the editor and bring up the editing window, create features. And I already have that over to the right, so it'll fly out, and I'll pin it here. And up at the top, I can select again the layer to create features in. So I'll select countries. And down at the bottom, we'll see some new construction tools that we didn't see last time. And in this case, we can have it help us create specifically formatted different types of polygons. But since we're outlining countries, we're going to select the polygon feature template here. And unlike when we did the point, there's no ghost because I'm not dragging a point around to place. I'm just going to start clicking. So I'm going to digitize the boundaries of Chad and Niger today. And I'll just start by clicking on a point, and you'll see that the line, it has the point, and then a line starts coming out in the direction of my cursor. And then I'll click again on this boundary here, and all of a sudden now I have two lines here. It's starting to make the polygon boundary for me. So I'll click again at the corner of the country, and now that it has a polygon, it's going to start filling it in with the color of the layer that I'm working on. And if I start clicking down through all these spots, it adjusts the polygon as I'm working. I don't have a complete polygon yet. There's no official attribute in the attribute table, but it's creating it for me as we go. And you'll also notice that it's making it semi-transparent automatically, which is nice because in a little bit, we're going to end up looping, when we come around to this side, we'll end up looping back over ourselves, and we'll need to see through our polygon in order to get those vertices, the corners of the polygon, correct. So, like even right here, there's that little spot here, and if I just keep clicking, creating all these vertices, I need to see through this polygon in order to figure out where to put them. And I did an okay job there, not a particularly wonderful job on that boundary. So now that I have an approximately complete polygon, I'm going to right click and I'm going to select Finish Sketch. And now I have my polygon there. Now the polygon doesn't know that its name is Chad, and I could go to the attribute table like we did last time and start editing it in here. But let's not do that. Let's use the editing tools built in attribute editor because it's a little handy to keep around, and I had it flown out over here, but if you didn't, you can go to the editing windows and click attributes, and it'll come up, and whatever you have selected in the editing tool, it'll give you a full listing of the attributes here, so that now I can just type in the name box Chad, and then if I knew the population, I could add that in here. And once I've done that in the attribute table, it fills that information in for me. So it makes it nice where I can automatically see attribute information for the current feature here. And if I have a name field, it knows to display that there, so I know what feature I'm editing. So I'll take a moment and I'm going to save my edits now and write that out. And now let's start digitizing the outline of the next feature of Niger. So I'll start over here, and just as before, I'll start clicking along the outline of the country here. And I'm not going to make it perfect, just to speed things up. And right when we get over to the country we already have, something special happens. That box pops up and it gives us some text there, and it's trying to snap for us. And what that does is it allows us to align features that touch each other by automatically placing their vertices at the same spot. So by snapping, it means it's moving, it's snapping the location of my cursor to the location of an existing feature. And you'll kind of feel it in a weird way if you haven't used software that snaps things before. You'll feel it in a way where as you get your cursor close, I'm going to move it slowly in there, and then all of a sudden, no matter how far away it is, it snaps to that vertice. So it's helping me align with existing vertices on existing features. So I'm going to do that because I want these to align. They do share a boundary, so they should share the same vertices. So I'll click there, and I'm just going to follow it down the line here and click each vertice as it snaps to it for me. And occasionally it tries to snap to an edge for me, but that's what if I don't have a vertex in there. And then I'll just keep moving along it. And I messed up there, so I'm going to delete that vertex by right-clicking on and deleting it, because I snapped to the edge instead of the next vertex, which would have been okay, but I don't want to do that. And I'm going to keep going down this line. And oh, I got distracted. I went too far. So I started going down Nigeria. So then let's go and let's remove these vertices that I added that are extra here, and continue creating the edge of Niger instead. And when I'm done, I'll right click and finish sketch again. And over on the right, I can go to attributes and put in the name Niger. Now, before we go on, one thing I want to note is that you didn't see me zooming in or out during this digitization process. There's such a temptation, at least for me, to zoom in order to get some of these details right. But the important thing is that we keep our scale consistent, so we can say that these features were digitized at this scale, and even if they're accurate at this scale, they're not accurate when you're zoomed in any further. They're not accurate at any larger of a scale than this. If you want to digitize at that higher resolution, then zoom in first so that you actually digitize at that resolution. Given that this scale is really just useful for cartographic purposes and really basic area calculations, but nothing too accurate, it'd probably be fine if I had, but just know that it limits the validity of your data, and keeping it consistent so you know how valid your data is a good thing to do. Okay, now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to pretend that now that we have these features saved, that we're doing another round of edits, and we're actually refining them at a higher or at a larger scale, and we want to go update some of these shared boundaries. Say we were doing it closer to 1 to 2 million scale here, and we were trying to make these features now work at that level. I'm going to set them manually transparent here so that I can see through them pretty well, and I want to update these boundaries a bit. But I don't want to do everything twice because these share boundaries. So when I make one edit, I should be able to make that edit to the other. That's where topology comes in. Topology understands feature relationships and kind of an adjacency of features. It knows which features are next to which, and it's not just that they snap the same points to one coordinate, it's that they actually end up sharing that line with topology. We'll talk more in depth about topology in a later lecture in this course, but just know for now that it defines these relationships between features. And I can access that topology once again through a toolbar. So I'll turn it on, and what I want to do is I want to select topology, and I want to select my countries layer to participate in the map topology here, and I'll click OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this topology edit tool, and I'm dragging a box to make sure both of those features get selected, and we see this line highlight here. And what I want to do to make sure I get this right is I'm going to click that shared features button on the topology toolbar, and it brings up a shared features window which tells me which features share this edge, this line on the edge of the polygon here. And it confirms to me that yeah, I have the right edge selected, and now if I start making edits to that edge, I will be able to make edits to both features at the same time. So let's right click on here and go to Modify Edge, and all of a sudden vertices come up. And let's use the Add Vertex tool here. And I'm going to click right here, and it adds a vertex for me, and then I can drag it up here, and then click here again with the Add Vertex tool. And I can keep making vertices to add into this space, and then I can move the existing ones to be in line. So I can refine this feature, and when I'm done with that change, I'll right click and finish sketch again, and it updates both features for me. So if I select just the one in a normal selection here, I can see that it follows that boundary, and if I select the other, it follows that boundary still. And if I go to Editor and Save Edits, they get permanently updated with my new boundary. So that's the basics of using topology for editing features that share a relationship with each other and that share boundaries. Okay, that's it for this lecture. In this lecture, you learned how to create new features, how to edit their attributes using the attribute editor, how to snap to existing features when you're creating new features, and then how to edit those features by building their feature relationships or topology. You now know the basics of creating features in ArcGIS. There are tons more tools you can use that make certain parts of this easier, but this is what you need to know to get you started. Have fun creating features, and see you next time.